Hello, hi, I'm Pearl. This is Pearl Escape's Guide to Healing. And my goodness, what a beautiful morning. It's December and wow, it's just a beautiful morning. And you can hear, if you're watching, you can see the sea. Oh, it's coming closer. And if you're listening, that's the sound of the ocean in the background, which is just glorious this morning. And you don't often get that without loads of wind noise as well. So this is particularly lovely. And this episode's all about travel and also about pilgrimage. And I know this will be coming out in January and a lot of people will be planning their summer holidays and thinking about where you want to go this year. And I wanted to give a different perspective because the thing is that sometimes we think of travel as being a luxury, foreign holidays, get spoken about as kind of something a bit extravagant. But actually, travel can be a form of healing. And I know in my experience, whenever I've gone to places, sometimes it's been really strange, but I've learned so much. So we often talk about travel as being an education as well. And that is something very special. But the other thing is that very often when we go to certain places, it can give us something that we didn't even know we needed. And sometimes it can be a massage. It can be an amazing massage, shiatsu in Japan, or a Moroccan massage in a proper Moroccan hammam. It can give us a feeling of being taken care of and loved. And that's really, really special. But sometimes it's just things that we can't even know until we get there. And an example of this is the Camino de Santiago, which I write about and talk about a lot. And that is a pilgrimage that goes back thousands and thousands of years. And people knew long, long ago that sometimes when things were really difficult, they had any kind of spiritual problem or other kind of problem, that the answer was to go on pilgrimage. And the Camino de Santiago is very special because it has a lot of different pathways. So it's not just one route, many routes. And it has different ending places. For some people the ending is Santiago, other people the ending is Finisterre, and other people it's Murcia. And when you do something like the Camino de Santiago, what I found when I did it is it made me realize there's so many different pathways, so many different routes, and we don't have to judge anybody else's path, we don't have to judge anybody else's way. But we can often do that with travel. We say, oh, I don't want to go there, or, oh, that place is awful. And a lot of times when I was traveling, people would try and put me off. When I was going to Hawaii, I met some people in America like, oh, don't go to Hawaii, it's disgusting, it's terrible, it's no point going to Hawaii, it's awful. It was wonderful. And I loved it. And I really needed to go there. And for me, what I found when I got there, and I enjoyed it, was I finally understood unconditional love for other people. Weirdly enough, I'd managed to kind of figure out unconditional love for myself back then, but I hadn't kind of figured it out for other people, even though I'd started understanding it for other people. Healing isn't always just like that. It's like fitness. You don't get everything in one go. You start to heal, you start to build understanding and awareness, and as you get stronger, or even as you kind of let go of some things, you can kind of come to more healing. I mean, look at this. It's just beautiful. Look at these waves. You've got the great big waves out there, and then these little waves here. But I wanted to share a little bit about my experience with travel. In my 20s, I think people would say I traveled a lot because I was always going somewhere. But really, I was just going to Paris and Rome because that was where my friends lived. And when I was 30, I gave my brother a kidney, and it kind of changed things for me, and it made me realize that I was spending all my time and money and energy on just going to visit my friends. I wasn't really traveling. I wasn't really going to the places that were calling me in my heart. I wasn't traveling for myself. I was traveling for other people. And you might be doing that. You might be planning trips for your family. You might be going to visit people. And so I'll ask you the question, Where is calling you, your heart? And my friend, who was a really good friend at the time, said to me, you know what, Pearl, I think you need a holiday. Where do you want to go? And because of all the changes, because of going through that experience, I felt very much like I was, thinking about my bucket list. And so I was thinking about, where do I really want to go? And I said, Egypt. Always wanted to go to Egypt. And so we did. And we went on this amazing trip. And a lot of times, you go to somewhere that you've imagined, you've dreamed of. People say, oh, it wasn't that good. It wasn't what I expected. And honestly, it was just so much better. It was so amazing. And it made me realize, how awesome my life could be. If I let go and if I follow my heart. And it was the beginning, really, of a lot of things. Before massage, before anything else. But something in that trip to Egypt was just so amazing, so beautiful. And to see the temple at night, and the full moon. It was a really big experience of the full moon there. And that's what I mean about healing. Sometimes we'll do one trip or we'll go somewhere and it will start like a chain reaction. And you never know where you're going to end up once you start. Which is probably why sometimes it feels so scary to go off and do those things, because you're starting a chain reaction. And it's like the song from Grey's Anatomy, isn't it? Nobody knows where they might end up. And it takes a lot of courage sometimes to let go and go, you know what, I'm going to go. And it could just be somewhere around the corner from you. A lot of times I'll meet people on my travels and I'll say, and they go, where are you going? What are you doing? I'm going here, I'm doing this. And it's just right, right in their neighborhood. And they go, oh, I've never done that. I've never been there. Never gone there. And I said, well, why not? And it's like, well, because day-to-day life just gets in the way. And you just always got something else that's going on. And, there's some beautiful areas near me. There's a wonderful wood nearby. And I'm always thinking I'm going to go and visit. But I don't make the time. Even though I'm saying all this and I keep doing it, I'm like, still haven't done that thing. The weather doesn't help either sometimes at this time of year. But it's really just figuring out, your bucket list. What is it? Where do I want to go? What do I want to do? And, what I wanted to share with you is when I went off and did my big journey around the world, I met so many people who were in their 60s or even 70s doing doing this kind of trip. And they all said, you know what, I wish I'd done it when I was your age. I wish I'd done it when I was younger. So I was in my 40s. It wasn't easy. A lot of these trips and these things can be very physically tough. And so, don't wait. Go for it. Don't wait. Get on it. And I know that during lockdown, during the pandemic, everyone said to me, like all the people who'd be going, oh, you're crazy, going off traveling, you're crazy, spending all this money, you're crazy, doing all these dangerous things. And during the pandemic, practically every single person turned around to me and was like, I wish I'd done it. I wish I'd done it when I had the opportunity. I wish I'd done it when I had the money. I wish I had it when I had the health. I wish I'd done it when there wasn't a global pandemic stopping me from doing what I want. And so I was really, really glad during that time that I had done all that travel. I had done that healing. And it's work, the healing is a work, and the travel was really part of that. As beautiful and wonderful and magical as it all was, it was something that I had to do. And if I hadn't done it, I wouldn't have learned, and I wouldn't have changed and grown and had that personal development that you get from travel and doing the things you love. And I'm not sure I would have made it through the last 5-6 years, because all that stuff it goes into you, all that. I'll say it's kind of strength, but it's about learning how to get through the difficult things. And the healing allows you to kind of get over and deal with anything that you haven't dealt with, but also to change how you're living your life, how you see life. And when I was going through the pandemic, I was really always in my heart going back to those times and those places and those teachers, whether it was going to Plum Village or Thich Nhat Hanh or Don Miguel Ruiz or going to Bhutan, and the number of people when people have traveled lots of different places, always traveling, They always say the same thing when I talk to them. They go, oh yeah, I really want to go to Bhutan. It's kind of like the Holy Grail because it's such a challenging trip. And a lot of people would say, I wish I'd done it. And they would say, the second this pandemic's over, that's what I'm doing, that's where I'm going, that's what I'm going to do. And I don't think that any of them have actually done it. Because that's what we do. We say, oh, when I get the chance, I'm going to do this. When I get the chance, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. This thing that's been calling to me, I'm going to go and do it. And then we don't do it. So this is just kind of a reminder, really, to say, you know what? It's okay to travel for your own benefit and for your own healing. I know there's a lot of voices that saying, oh, no, it's bad to go on a plane. It's bad to do this. But think also about the ecological toll, the price of not being healed, of not being well. Because very often we end up spending more money and wasting more because we are, we're avoiding things. It's like Christmas, isn't it? Instead of getting what we want, we spend money on a whole load of useless rubbish. So if it's travel you're focusing on, if it's travel that's calling you or a pilgrimage, think about what your heart is calling to you. Think deeply. Spend money, spend your time, spend your energy on what is really for you. A lot of the healing is just about listening to your heart, listening to your inner wisdom. And also, traveling is really wonderful because when you do that, you realize that inner wisdom is true and it's calling you, and it's calling you for a reason. So just listen to your heart. And when you listen to your heart, you always end up in the right place at the right time. Because as the Beatles said, there's nowhere that you can be that isn't where you're meant to be. All right, you take care. Speak to you soon. Enjoy. Bye.